Over in the U.S., Republican Donald Trump secures 270 electoral votes and wins a second presidency. A U.S. report says a significant number of North Korean troops dispatched to Russia were killed in their fight against Ukraine, while sources in South Korea deny the idea of their full-scale combat. Weaker demand at home is likely to put a cap on the country's economic recovery, according to South Korea's think tank. It's November 6, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Min. We start our coverage in the U.S., where the winner of the high-stakes presidential election is finally out. Without further ado, let's go straight to Washington, D.C., where VOA correspondent Jessica Stone is standing by. Hi, Jessica. We are learning that former President Trump secured 277 electoral votes and won a second presidency. What's it like there?
The dawn is just coming. I believe the sun is just going to rise, and you can see a little bit of light blue behind the Capitol building there. So Americans who did not go to bed early last night may have a better idea what they're waking up to. But those that went to bed early would certainly be surprised potentially at the outcome, because going into the night, we expected a long count. We did not get that long count. It was actually a very quick count. That could potentially mean that there was a sweep, but it also is an indicator of all of the changed laws and procedures that came into place after 2020 and some of the election issues and drawn out processes there. It's also an indicator of more people voting in person on the day or early in person. So we do have 277 electoral votes now going to Donald Trump. Wisconsin, the latest state to go for Trump. That means he flipped the state. This is symbolic not just for its 10 electoral college votes, but really for the symbolism of Donald Trump winning a Midwestern so-called Rust Belt state. Many of these states in this part of the country, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, have been a part of the Industrial Revolution and a part of the deindustrialization of the United States. Many people losing their jobs to trade overseas, which has been a strong theme throughout his campaign. And so looking at that, Wisconsin take back really as part of his own political comeback is a key factor. Of course, we did see Donald Trump relatively early in the night sew up North Carolina and Georgia, and then followed by Pennsylvania, at which time he declared himself the winner.
Right. And Jessica, Trump did deliver his speech a few hours ago. What about Harris?
She has so far remained silent. Relatively late in the evening, around 1:30 this morning, her campaign came out and said she would have a statement in the morning, but she would not be making a statement from Howard University at that time. She spent the evening, as we understand it from the campaign, at her residence in Washington, D.C., the vice presidential residence. And we do hope to hear from her later in the morning, particularly when there are more votes counted and all possible roads for her back to the White House are closed.
Right. And what was the gist of Trump's speech? Briefly.
You know, he took the position of gratitude right off the bat, thanking the American people, his campaign, his vice presidential running mate, and thanking them for trusting him again with the vote and with the presidency, and promising to restore the economy. He went back to that tagline that he had used in the waning days of the election. Kamala broke it, I will fix it. He promised to fix the fix the economy, and also to fix immigration. Two huge issues which pushed Americans to the polls. We know from exit polling that 31% of Americans who said that the economy was their main issue for voting in this U.S. election, 2/3 of them, or I should say 3/4 of them, voted for Trump. Likewise, there was an overwhelming number of people who also said that they are not better off financially now than they were 4 years ago. They wanted to go back to a candidate that was not currently in the White House, who could potentially change the economic picture in this country.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, we were expecting a very tight race, and some have forecast that it'll take a few days until we found out who won, but now the final outcome is already out.
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yes, so media have been forecasting that it'll take a few days to find out who won, but now the final outcome is already out.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a surprise. It certainly is to me. Going in, we were definitely expecting a longer vote count, particularly because Wisconsin and Pennsylvania didn't start counting their early votes until today. But as you look back through the data, what you realize, or at least what I think I've realized, is that there were far fewer votes, which we did know, far fewer early votes than there were 4 years ago. And we also knew that there had been some legal changes, some procedural changes to help speed up the count 4 years later. And perhaps that attributes to why we got it counted so quickly. We'll know in time what the exact details are, but those are a couple of my early thoughts about what changed this year compared to 4 years ago.
All right. Thank you, Jessica, very much for the updates.
Pleasure to be with you.
So as we just heard, Republican Donald Trump has officially become the 47th President of the United States. For more, we have our Pei in the studio to give us details of how the results turned out in key battleground states. Welcome, Eun-ji.
Good evening, Jong-min.
Evening. Former President Trump has now clinched the presidency, making a political comeback.
That's right. Just moments ago, Donald Trump was declared as president-elect of the United States. He was just 3 electoral votes away from winning the election, and he appears to have won Wisconsin, just now, one of the key battleground states, taking 10 more votes. Let's hear what he had to say as he addressed his headquarters in Florida.
It's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
So most of the votes have been counted, and so far Trump is projected to gain 277 electoral votes and Harris 224. Trump has been declared the official winner after gaining more than 270 electoral votes needed to win this election. Now, if you take a look at the map here, on the screen, Trump and Harris picked up expected wins, but Trump won 4 of the battleground states and is expected to win in the remaining 3 swing states, making him the next president of the United States. First of all, Trump has won Pennsylvania, the most crucial swing state. Both candidates have been focusing time and funds on the state, as the winner there takes 19 electoral votes. Most of the votes have been counted there, and Trump has taken more than half of the votes, making it another huge achievement for the Republicans. In Wisconsin, Trump took the lead with a little more than 51%. Wisconsin has 10 electoral votes, so this made him the official winner. In North Carolina, Trump has taken more than 50%, taking another 16 electoral votes. This is the 3rd straight time he has won in this battleground state. The former president also won in Georgia, taking another 16 electoral votes. Georgia became the first state to flip from the 2020 election earlier in the day. So this is a state where his campaign has been focusing on as a must-win after he narrowly lost it against Biden in 2020. So it's a major win for Republicans.
Eun-ji, it's quite surprising that he's in the lead in all 7 swing states.
That's right. We're still waiting for the final results to come out in 3 of the swing states. That includes Arizona, Michigan, and Nevada, but Trump has the lead in all of them. Over in Arizona, half of the votes have been counted, and Donald Trump is in the lead with a little more than 50%. The winner of Arizona will be taking 11 electoral votes. Trump is also ahead in Michigan. Almost 90% of the votes are in, with Trump in the lead with around 51%. In Nevada, Trump again is ahead with a little more than 51%. Around 80% of the votes have been counted there.
All right, thank you, Eun-ji, for the updates. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
President Yoon congratulated former U.S. President Donald Trump on his re-election. In a post on X on Wednesday, the South Korean leader posted his congratulations, saying he looked forward to working with Trump. Yoon said that under Trump's strong leadership, the future of the bilateral alliance and America will shine brighter. Yoon also congratulated Kim on becoming the first Korean-American senator in the U.S. So, as we just heard, on this day, Senate elections are also taking place in the United States. And Democrat Andy Kim has become the first Korean-American senator. Our An Sung-jin explains who he is and what his win could mean for Asian Americans.
The first Korean-American senator. The Associated Press called the race for Andy Kim on Wednesday, defeating Republican businessman Curtis Bashaw for a seat that opened up when Bob Menendez resigned in August following a federal conviction for bribery charges. Kim thanked his supporters at a victory celebration and said he was having a hard time processing this moment. He will now become one of the 3 Asian American senators in office. The 42-year-old is a third-term congressman from central New Jersey and was first elected to Congress in 2018. He stated that he declared his candidacy because he felt the country needed to change courses amid a time of such great distrust in government. He presents himself as an unassuming and hardworking official and became mostly known for being photographed in the U.S. Capitol, cleaning up after a pro-Trump mob breached the Capitol building in 2021. Kim was born and raised in America and calls himself a product of New Jersey public schools. He also worked at the Pentagon and in Afghanistan as a civilian advisor to the military. The son of Korean immigrants, Andy Kim has achieved the American dream, becoming not only New Jersey's first Korean-American senator, but the first from the community on the entire East Coast. New Jersey is especially a state where Asian Americans are the fastest growing demographic, as the number nearly doubled from 2000 to 2022. As the first Korean-American U.S. senator, Kim said his win could be a chance to listen to Asian American voters, whose voices were often neglected in American politics. Han Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Sources here in South Korea say North Korean troops in Russia have not yet been involved in full-scale combat against Ukraine. This follows reports that those troops had been killed after engaging in small-scale fights. Kim Bo-kyung has the latest.
A South Korean presidential official said the North Korean troops in Russia have not yet engaged in full-fledged combat against Ukraine. However, they continued that if joint combat operations between North Korea and Russia do begin, South Korea could dispatch a monitoring team to get the full details on the ground to determine Seoul's security and collaboration with Kyiv. The official added that sending a small-scale team with a specific temporary mission is under the defense minister's authority and it would not need parliamentary approval. Such remarks from the South Korean government came amid reports that North Korean troops engaged in a limited confrontation with Ukrainian forces. According to a senior U.S. official cited by local media on Tuesday, a significant number of North Korean troops were killed during their first fight in Russia's war against Ukraine. The report cited a Ukrainian official, also on the condition of anonymity, and added the engagement was limited, likely meant to probe Ukrainian lines for weaknesses. Additionally, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that North Korean troops had engaged in combat in his nightly address. He called it, quote, a new chapter of instability in the world.
The first battles with North Korean soldiers open a new chapter of instability in the world. Together with the world, we must do everything to ensure that this Russian step toward expanding the war, toward real escalation, that this step of his becomes a losing one, for him and for North Korea.
These were in line with a recent interview of the Ukrainian defense chief by a South Korean local broadcaster, where he confirmed that the first battle with North Korean soldiers had already taken place on a small scale on Monday. He added up to 15,000 soldiers from North Korea are in Kursk, and that many of those troops would be involved in combat in the following weeks after training. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
As President Yoon marks almost the halfway point of his term, the top office picks global pivotal state as the key phrase for his administration's foreign policy. Our Kim Do-yeon has the details.
211 summits with leaders from 113 nations held by President Yoon Suk-yeol in the first half of his term. That's according to the presidential office on Wednesday, and as it reaches the halfway mark of its term, held a briefing on its diplomatic and national security policies. The top office says the term global pivotal state was the main theme as it established a global network to strengthen security.
We approach the North Korean nuclear issue from the perspective that it poses a shared challenge, threatening peace not only on the Korean peninsula and in the surrounding region, but also impacting security across the Indo-Pacific and globally.
The principal deputy national security advisor also noted economic profits from acting as a global pivotal state with soft power in action. Korea's Indo-Pacific strategy, the Korea-ASEAN Solidarity Initiative, and the K-Silk Road Initiative were some proposals made to help developing nations. In addition, the Korea-Pacific Island Summit and the Korea-Africa Summit were held in South Korea.
The concept of being a global pivotal state is ultimately about maximizing our national interests. As a means to achieve this, solidarity and freedom has been emphasized multiple times. This is because countries that uphold liberal democracy maintain systems characterized by openness.
The top office also noted that South Korea has had a presence in multilateral scenes such as NATO and the Camp David Trilateral Summit with the U.S. and Japan. It also noted that Seoul welcomed AUKUS's invitation to cooperate on Pillar 2, which would mean cooperation for advanced technology that is transferable into military equipment. All this really also channels down to South Korea's security, especially from North Korea sharing intelligence and getting support for Seoul's initiative to protect peace on the Korean peninsula. There was also emphasis placed on the August 15 Unification Doctrine, which was a declaration to unify the two Koreas under liberal democracy.
We will work to prepare for a future in which our North Korean compatriots can swiftly escape poverty and the iron-fisted rule of oppression so they too can enjoy freedom.
This was the second part of the presidential office's three-part plan to reach out to the public in light of its halfway mark. It followed a domestic policy briefing on Tuesday, and now the president himself will hold a live briefing on Thursday. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
President Yoon says regional growth is essential for South Korea to overcome its challenges. This came as the president on Wednesday joined the celebration for the second Regional Balanced Growth Day and the Korea Local Era Expo in Gangwon-do Province. He reiterated that each local government needs autonomy over what it chooses as its strengths and fosters it to make the area prosper further. He added that creating quality jobs is the most important aspect of balanced growth throughout the nation. He also welcomed the new announcement of a second round of opportunity special zones being designated, which will lead to the government investing 33.8 trillion Korean won or $24 billion across 6 provincial level districts. The Korea Development Institute maintains its grim assessment of domestic consumption despite the ease in inflation, while acknowledging the positive momentum gained from ICT exports. Lee Soo-jin has more.
Ongoing limited domestic demand despite positive export momentum. This is how a major state-run think tank, the Korea Development Institute, evaluates South Korea's economy in its monthly report released on Wednesday. It's the 12th consecutive month that the KDI has maintained a pessimistic view of the economy's domestic demand, and once again stands in contrast to the government's assessment that it is showing signs of recovery. The nation's industrial output and goods consumption both fell in September. South Korea's industrial output fell 0.3% compared to the previous month, and the decrease comes after the country recorded an on-month rise of 1.3% for the first time in 4 months in August. And industrial production fell 1.1% on an on-year basis as well, which was largely attributed to lackluster production in the construction sector, which dropped by around 12% on year. And retail sales, which indicate trends in goods consumption, also declined by 0.4% on month after seeing a rise in August and fell 2.2% on year. This was mostly attributed to lower sales of non-durable goods such as food and beverages, as well as semi-durable goods like shoes and bags. South Korea's exports in October came to a total of $57.52 billion, up 4.6% from the same month the year before, marking the 13th month of consecutive on-year growth in exports. While the on-year gain was smaller than that of the previous month, this was mostly due to base effects, and robust shipments of ICT products led to the growth. By item, semiconductors, the country's largest export item, saw a more than 40% increase compared to the same period last year, maintaining an upward trend for the 13th consecutive month last month. And the total export value of computer products, including solid-state drives, also marked 10 consecutive months of growth. As for the global economy, the KDI assesses that steady growth momentum has been maintained, supported by policy rate cuts, with easing inflation, but downside risks remain due to trade disputes. 이수진, 아리랑 뉴스.
The lowest temperatures this fall were recorded in most regions this morning, and the first frost and first ice were observed in the central inland areas. The first frost was also observed in Seoul 2 days earlier than last year, but 9 days later than usual. Tomorrow's Ipdong on the lunar calendar, the start of winter. Temperatures will drop to 2 degrees in the morning in Seoul. For the time being, temperatures will drop significantly overnight, and there will be many places with thin ice or frost on the roads. Please take extra precautions. Chuncheon and Daejeon will start off at 1 degree tomorrow morning, Gwangju and Daegu 3 degrees. Daily highs will be topping out at 14 degrees in Seoul and Chuncheon, Gwangju, Daegu, and Gyeongju 17 degrees. Starting from the weekend, the temperature is expected to gradually rise and recover to normal levels. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. And that is Newscenter for tonight. Thanks for watching. A panel session up next.